Hello viewers, in today's session we are going to discuss about transfer of ownership. Sale of goods involves transfer of property or transfer of ownership from the seller to the buyer. Before moving ahead with this discussion, let us differentiate between the terms property in goods and possession of goods. Property in goods refers to ownership of goods, whereas possession of goods refers to the custody or control of goods. Now, let me give you an example. I have this pen in my hand which I have borrowed from my friend. So, my friend is the owner of this pen. So, the ownership of this pen lies with my friend, whereas at this point of time I have the possession of this pen. I have the custody or control of this pen. So, with this example you can understand possession of goods and property of goods are two different things. So, it is quite possible that a person could have possession of goods, but not necessarily the property. For example, I am holding this pen in my hand right now. I have the possession of this pen, but I am not the owner of this pen. So, I do not have the property in this pen, or I do not have the ownership in this pen. Whenever we talk about transfer of ownership, we need to determine what is that exact moment when ownership transfers from the seller to the buyer. Now, we will discuss 4 different scenarios which will tell us why is it so important to determine this precise moment of time. The 4 different scenarios that we are going to discuss are risk of loss, action against third parties, insolvency of the buyer or seller, and suit for price. Now, let us look at the risk of loss. Risk of loss always lies with the owner. Whoever is the owner of the goods will have to bear the risk of loss. Now, let me give you an example. Now, A seller sells some goods to B and he sends these goods on a truck to be delivered to B. Now, what happens in transit? The goods get destroyed. Now, B says, I have not yet received the goods, so I will not bear the risk of loss. Whereas, A says, see, I have already packed the goods, I have put them on the truck, they were about to reach you, so they are yours and I am not going to bear the risk of loss. Now, this is what happens when there is no clarity as to who is the owner of that particular goods. So, therefore, determining the precise moment when ownership is transferred from the seller to the buyer is very, very important. Now, let us look at the next scenario. The next scenario is action against third parties. It is the owner and only the owner who can take action against the third parties. No other person can take action against the third parties. Now, let us look at the previous example. See, I told you A sent some goods to B in a truck, but the goods were destroyed in transit. Assume these goods were destroyed because of the carelessness of the driver. Now, who has the right to take action against the driver? Is it A, the seller, or B, the buyer? The answer to this question lies in as to who is the owner, who is the owner of those goods at that point of time. If it is A, then he can take action against the driver, and if it is B, then he can take action against the driver. So, the answer is simple, whoever is the owner at that point of time can take action against the driver, because owner alone has the right to take action against the third party. Now, let us look at the third scenario. The third scenario is what happens if there is insolvency of the buyer or seller. Insolvency is a state of financial distress where a person is no longer able to pay his debts. And what happens in such a case? In such a case, all the assets belonging to that person are sold off, and whatever proceeds you get from the sale, all those proceeds are used to repay the debts. Now, if the buyer is insolvent or if the seller is insolvent, what happens to the goods? Now, let me give you an example. A sells an antique painting to B B says, okay, I will come after 1 week and collect that painting from you. But before B could go and collect the painting, A is declared insolvent. So, I told you, when a person is declared insolvent, all his assets are sold to meet the debts. Now, the question is, will this painting which was sold to B, but still in A's custody, will that painting also be sold in order to meet A's debts? Now, again the answer to this question is, whoever is the owner at that point of time of that particular painting, only that person has right over the painting. So, assume transfer of ownership did take place. If transfer of ownership has taken place, then B is the owner of that painting and that painting cannot be sold in order to meet A's debts. Whereas, if transfer of ownership has not happened, if A is still the owner of that particular painting, then yes, the painting can be sold in order to meet the debts of A. So, that is why it is important to determine the exact time when ownership is transferred from the buyer to the seller. And this is the last scenario, the fourth scenario, that is suit for price. Now, unless and until the contract provides otherwise, it is the seller alone who can sue for the price, and he cannot sue for the price unless the property has passed to the buyer. So, first transfer of ownership has to take place. First ownership should transfer from seller to the buyer, and only then the seller can sue for price. So, therefore, determining the exact time of transfer of ownership is important. Now, there are various stages through which transfer of ownership happens, and those various stages are passing of property, delivery of goods, and passing of the risk. Now, one thing that we need to remember here is, these three stages, though they are mentioned as 1, 2 and 3, they need not happen in the same order. Sometimes delivery of goods could take place, but transfer of ownership might take place at a later time, or sometimes transfer of ownership could take place immediately, whereas goods could be delivered at a later date. Now, let us look at the rules that determine the passing of property for ascertained goods, unascertained goods, goods sold on approval or on sale on return basis, and goods where the seller reserves the right of disposal. Let us look at what are the various rules for these different types of goods. So, section 19 deals with rules pertaining to transfer of ownership in specific or ascertained goods. Now, what are ascertained goods? Ascertained goods are those specific definite goods which are identified at the time of contract. Now, what does law talk about ascertained goods? When there is a contract for the sale of specific or ascertained goods, the property in them is transferred to the buyer at the time when the parties to the contract intend it to be transferred. So, whenever the parties to the contract intend it to be transferred, the ownership in property would be transferred. So, what is important here? Intention of the buyer and the seller. Whenever the buyer and the seller intend to transfer the ownership, then that would happen. Now, how do we determine the intention? How do we interpret the intention of the parties? When we have to interpret the intention of the parties, we need to take into consideration three aspects. What are the terms of the contract? What is the conduct of the parties? And what are the circumstances of the case? So, looking at these three things, we can interpret the intention of the parties. However, in certain situations, it is difficult to interpret the intention of the parties. Then what do we do? Where intention of the parties cannot be interpreted either through terms of the contract or conduct of the parties or based on the circumstances of the case, then we follow the following rules. Now, what are those rules? Now, section 20 deals with transfer of ownership for specific goods which are in a deliverable state. Specific goods in a deliverable state means those goods, definite goods which have already been identified and which are ready to be delivered, which are all all packed already, everything is done and they can immediately be delivered to the seller. So, such kind of goods, right. So, what is the rule pertaining to specific goods which are in a deliverable state? Specific goods which are in a deliverable state mean those goods which are ready and can be delivered at that point itself. So, in such kind of goods, transfer of ownership takes place when there is a contract between the buyer and the seller. The moment a contract is made between the buyer and the seller for specific goods in a deliverable state, transfer of ownership takes place. Time of payment, date of delivery are irrelevant. The moment a contract is made, ownership is transferred as far as specific goods in a deliverable state are concerned. Now, there are certain goods which are not in a ready deliverable state. They are in a to be put into a deliverable state. Now, what do we mean by this? When are goods to be put into a deliverable state? I will give you an example. Now, B goes to a furniture shop which belongs to A and buys a cupboard. He likes a cupboard, he selects it, A and B decide upon the price, but B says, I want some modifications to be made. I want you to make a few modifications, then you call me up, I will come and pick the cupboard, I will come and take the cupboard. Now, what is happening here? Cupboard has been identified, selected, price has been determined, but the buyer wants the seller to do certain things to the good, to the product, and only after that he will come and take the product, or he might take the delivery of the product, whatever it is. But the point here is buyer wants the seller to do certain things to the goods. So, goods to be put into a deliverable state are those goods where the seller needs to take some action, maybe make some modifications or make some changes. Now, what is the rule in case of such goods? In case of such goods, transfer of ownership takes place once the seller makes the required changes and intimates the buyer of the same. So, in this example, A makes the required modifications to the cupboard and calls up B, makes a phone call, informs B, tells him, see, I have made the required changes, you can come and collect the cupboard. The moment this is done, that is, required changes are made and intimation is given to the buyer. The moment this is done, ownership is transferred from A to B. Then let us look at the third category of goods. Now, what does section 22 say? Section 22 says that there are certain goods which are in a deliverable state, but the seller needs to do something in order to ascertain their price, in order to determine their price. Unless and until the seller does that, he cannot determine the price. So, such kind of goods wherein the seller might either have to weigh, or he might have to measure, or he might have to cut or do something. There what happens? Transfer of ownership takes place once the seller does all those things and determines the price. For example, B wants to buy curtains for his house. So, he goes to a shop which belongs to A and he says, see, I have 10 windows in my house, these are the dimensions, I want a cloth for the curtains. So, he selects a cloth, they both decide upon the price. So, A says it is 100 rupees per meter, but then B does not know how much to buy, he does not know how much of cloth he requires for those 10 windows. So, he gives those dimensions to A, he gives the dimensions of the windows to A. So, A says, okay, fine, give me some time, based on the dimensions that you have given me, I will see how much of cloth you would require, then I would cut so much of cloth and then I will inform you. So, here goods are in a deliverable state, but unless and until the seller measures those goods, or in this case measures the cloth, he cannot determine the price that the buyer has to pay. So, therefore, such kind of goods fall under section 22. Specific goods in a deliverable state when the seller has to do anything in order to ascertain price. Now, in such kind of goods, transfer of ownership takes place after the seller weighs, measures or cuts and then ascertains the price and informs the same to the buyer. Transfer of ownership takes place. Now, all this we have discussed so far was pertaining to ascertained goods. Ascertained goods are fixed, definite, existing, identified goods. Now, what are unascertained goods? Unascertained goods are those goods which have not been identified at the time of contract. So, when there is a contract for the sale of unascertained goods, transfer of ownership does not happen to the buyer unless and until the goods are ascertained. So, if we have to determine as to when did the transfer of ownership take place for unascertained goods, we have to first see when were they ascertained. The moment they were ascertained, transfer of ownership passes from the buyer to the seller. Now, there are two different methods in which unascertained goods can be ascertained. What are those two different methods? First one is appropriation and the second one is delivery to the carrier. Appropriation of goods involves selecting the goods with the intention of using them for the contract, but this selection should happen with the mutual consent of the buyer and the seller. If either the buyer or the seller can appropriate goods, but if seller is appropriating the goods, then he should take the consent of the buyer, and if buyer is appropriating the goods, then he has to take the consent of the seller. So, through valid appropriation, goods could be ascertained, and once these goods are ascertained, then ownership would be transferred from the buyer to the seller. This is one method, appropriation. Then there is another method by which unascertained goods can be ascertained, and that is delivery to the carrier. When the buyer makes the goods ready and delivers them to the carrier with the intention of transferring them to the buyer, then unascertained goods become ascertained. The moment seller puts the goods for delivery to the buyer, goods become ascertained, and once the goods are ascertained, ownership is transferred from the buyer to the seller. But then there are 2 points that are to be remembered here. The first point is that these goods which are put to the delivery, both the quantity and the quality should match with the terms of the contract. That is one thing. There should not be any discrepancy as far as the quantity and quality of the goods. And the second point that is to be remembered here is the seller should not reserve the right of disposal. So, when does ascertainment of these goods happen? When the seller sends goods of the same quality and quantity as described in the contract without reserving the right of disposal. So, that is a rule pertaining to unascertained goods. Then there are certain goods that are sent on approval or on sale or return basis. Now, first let me give you an example. There is a jewelry shop run by A. B goes to the jewelry shop and he selects one piece of jewelry and he tells A, see, I like this, but I want to go home and show it to my wife. If she likes it, I will keep it, I will buy this. If she does not like, I will come and return it to you. Now, this is an example of goods sent on approval or return basis. Now, when goods are delivered to the buyer on approval or on sale or return basis, then the property passes to the buyer. When does the property pass to the buyer? Let us look at 3 different scenarios. let us go back to the example. So, B goes home, shows that jewelry to his wife, she likes it, then immediately he calls up A. He says, see, my wife liked this, so I am keeping it, I am buying it. So, that is the situation 1 that is given there. When he here is the buyer, when the buyer signifies his approval or acceptance to the seller or does any other act adopting the transaction. So, when buyer calls and informs the seller that my wife liked this and I am keeping it. So, that means property has transferred from the seller to the buyer, or sometimes he might not expressly signify his approval, but he might do something which shows that he is accepting the transaction. Like for example, that day evening his wife goes to a function and she wears that piece of jewelry and goes there, which is noticed by A and many other people. So, what does it imply? It implies the act of wearing that jewelry implies that A has accepted the transaction, A has taken the product. So, the moment that happens, property is transferred from seller to the buyer. So, this is one situation where the buyer either expressly, that is by making a phone call, shows his acceptance, or impliedly is by wearing it. He did not call up and tell the seller, but then he started using that product. So, that shows that he has accepted the transaction. Now, look at the second situation. Here the buyer does not signify his approval or acceptance to the seller, but retains the goods without giving notice of rejection. So, in this example what happens? He tells the buyer that I will show it to my wife, if I do not like it, if I like it I will keep it, if I do not like it I will return it to you tomorrow. But he does not do that, by next day he does not return, he still keeps it. So, what does it imply? It implies that he has approved the transaction, he has agreed to buy the product. Sometimes there is no notice of time given. So, in this example, like I told you, the buyer tells the seller, within 2 days I will let you know, or within 1 day I will let you know, but 1 day passes, 2 days pass, 7 days, 10 days. So, there is a reasonable period that has passed. Even in that reasonable period also, the buyer does not give any intimation to the seller about his rejection. Even in such cases, it can be assumed that buyer has accepted the transaction, and the moment this happens, property is transferred from the buyer to the seller. And the third situation is he does something to the goods which is equivalent to accepting the goods, that is he pledges the goods. Now, in this example B, what he does is he takes this jewelry and goes and pledges it somewhere, or he sells it somewhere. Now, this act of his is also equivalent to accepting the goods, accepting the fact that he has bought the goods, and the moment he does that, ownership is transferred from the buyer to the seller. Now, let us look at the last category of goods. The last category of goods are those goods where the seller reserves the right of disposal. Now, section 25 deals with such goods. Now, when there is a contract for the sale of specific goods, or where goods are subsequently appropriated to the contract, the seller may, by the terms of the contract or appropriation, reserve the right of disposal or goods until certain conditions are fulfilled. So, let me give you an example. Seller puts the goods on a truck and asks the truck driver to deliver it to the buyer, but he places a condition. What is his condition? He tells the truck driver, do not deliver the goods to B unless and until he makes full payment, unless and until he makes the full payment. So, this is one condition that is imposed by the seller, that is the seller is reserving the right of disposal. The seller is sending the goods till the buyer, he is packing the goods, sending the goods till the buyer, but he is saying unless and until the buyer pays the money, makes the complete payment, he will not be delivered the goods. So, in such case, transfer of ownership takes place only after this condition is fulfilled, only after the payment is made by the buyer. The goods could be right in front of the buyer, but as long as he does not make the payment, he does not become the owner of the product. So, these are the 4 different types of goods, and this is ascertained goods, unascertained goods, goods sold by seller by reserving the right of disposal. Thank you.